Okay, today is session 7 of 9 of addictions. And for today, I decided to focus on coming to terms with addictions. Because by now, you've looked at some of your addictions, you've done some of the journaling, and you start to get a lot of awareness of how much you engage that one addiction and the full extent of it. So there are quite a few um, emotional processes to work through to even coming to terms with the fact that you have addictions and how much damage it's doing, and that the way it challenges, the reason why it's challenging is because it challenges a facade. You're not who you want to believe you are. And also, you start to become aware of some motivations that you judge as really dark, and they are pretty shocking. So there's some things that, and then on top of it, to work through it, you're actually going to have to let yourself feel those motivations. And you're like, you sure this is the way? So there are a lot of steps along the way. And I figure we could create some space to discuss it. And then I asked my guides for some help about this. So I asked some questions. And the questions I asked were, how do you want us to perceive our addictions? How do you want us to treat ourselves in this process? What do you want us to avoid? Like any pitfalls to avoid in this process? Why does this phase feel so difficult? You can just feel me whining. Why is it so tough? And then what help is available? What will help me make it easier to awaken addictions? So these are some of the questions I asked. And so the answers I received: how do you want us to perceive our addictions? How do you want us to perceive what addictions are? Addictions are mistaken beliefs about an ungenerous world, a world where there is no safety or trust. And as we correct our understanding of the world as God has designed it, we learn to trust and to receive what is already overabundantly given. There are wonders we can't even fathom waiting for us if we wish to engage it. Like there's so much waiting, so much overflowing beauty and wonder and majesty waiting for us. These are just the mistaken beliefs that we have to correct. How do you want us to treat ourselves in this process? These are just mistakes. We have mistaken beliefs. It's okay that we're making mistakes. Just stop. Correct it. When we attempt to correct, God's laws are there to help us in ways that we can't even imagine in our current errors. What do you want us to avoid? We have a lot of compassion and desires to help. We celebrate your decisions to awaken to your errors. You're not alone. You're not abandoned in these times. God is already forgiven. It's a path of gentleness, of soft, compassionate, merciful space. And we have to be the antidote to the harshness that created the addiction to begin with. So basically, what they want us to avoid is the harshness that created the need for addiction is not the way you're going to then uncover the addiction. You're going to have to antidote the harshness with changing how you treat yourselves during this phase. So if being treated, if let's say you got the silent treatment when you were, doing something wrong as a child, and that then created pain, and then that created the addiction of needing her approval or his approval so you can avoid that silent treatment. Well, now giving yourself silent treatment is not going to be the way to uncover the addictions. The harshness created the addiction, so you're going to have to do the antidote to harsh treatments that you receive in order to uncover it. So you're going to have to probably treat yourself. Well, the best way I do it is to treat myself the way God is treating me right now. And some of the things that happen when you awaken to addiction is that then you start to punish yourself. You start to self-sabotage, you start to judge yourself, you start to really do some terrible things to yourself because, oh, look at what you just found out about yourself. You're just this terrible person. But then if you stop and go, how is God treating me right now? God isn't punishing you. God isn't nagging you. God isn't wagging a finger at you. So when you treat yourself not the way God is treating you, you're harming yourself. And so it's difficult to go, God is not being harsh to me at all right now. So then all these errors start to come up. Well, then how am I going to fix myself unless I punish myself? I can't trust myself. I need some kind of harshness. That's the only way I'm going to learn my lesson. So this is where the education starts to happen. And you start to go, okay, I've never learned anything by being treated harshly as a child. I just got angry and got back, got wanting to get even. So obviously that didn't work. How would you treat a child if you were trying to correct a mistake? Well, I wouldn't know. I've never gone to that kind of treatment. I have no clue. Well, I guess I'm going to have to now create a process in which I can receive the education in the gentleness it will have been meant to be. So do you see how you have to kind of stop and fix the process and how you treat yourself and then educate yourself along the way, even to get through the addiction awakening process. So you learn a lot and you change a lot just at the process of awakening to addiction, never mind getting through past that phase. The very treatment that caused the addiction to be formed cannot be the way to reverse it. Why does this phase feel so difficult? We believe now that we've been exposed, we will be judged, outcast, abandoned, unloved, and unworthy, which at times are the very emotions we're trying to cover over with the addictions. There is only gentleness, kindness, love, pride, joy, healing, and repair coming from our guides. What help is available? We are honored to be able to help in many ways. We will be pleased and overjoyed to get an opportunity to help. And I could feel the feelings, it was very emotional. Ask for gentleness, truth, education on how to treat ourselves, courage, more gentleness, and to be shown the path, to be shown how, to be shown the motivations that's driving the addiction, and to always take action, always take some kind of action, even if it's, taking a piece of paper, writing down some questions and writing down some, here's how I'm really feeling right now. You're taking an action. Even if you're just pacing up and down your room, muttering, trying to like, I'm stuck. I don't know what to do. How am I going to blah, 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 blah. You're taking action. You're doing something. Take action. That was something they asked us to do. And then they can come in and help in many ways. What will help make it easier to awaken to addictions? Be curious. Ask to be shown the truth about it. How did it get created? Be objective in seeing the big picture of the full operation of the addiction. Ask questions such as, how does God feel about this addiction? Gentleness. When in doubt, add more gentleness. And then they conveyed to me the feeling that to them, we are precious, priceless children of God. To them, we are this beautiful, precious, just profound, I don't know, people. And so their opinion of us has not changed because we are in addiction or because we've now discovered that we are in addictions. To them, that doesn't change their value and worth and celebration of us and their desire to help us, which I find hard to fathom. That it doesn't, I can't let it sink in emotionally. So I got some emotions I got to release because it doesn't make sense to me. If I've changed how I perceive myself, then I feel everyone else will also change their perception and will treat me badly. And they should treat me badly because it turns out I'm a terrible person. So I have all these feelings I still got to work through. So that's what we got for today. I love to hear your feelings about where you're at, what it's like for you to awaken to addictions. Jill?
Painful.
Okay.
You know, I feel alone
Okay.
and in my I want to say in my misery, but that's punishing.
Yes.
But yeah, I guess I'd sum it up that way.
So, do you feel becoming aware of your addiction is painful, um, and you feel alone? How come you feel alone?
Well, I feel, and it's kind of it's a little like I'm just trying to figure out the right language for it, but it's not that I feel supported.
Yeah.
I feel supported by my guides. I feel supported by God. I feel supported. Um, but then on the I guess I'd call it the earth side, that's where the aloneness kind of comes from. Like I don't feel like I'm supported or guided or, you know, on the earth side. So it's like I'm always talking the to people I can't see.
Yeah. Yeah.
And that's what kind of makes me feel alone.
Yeah.
Maybe alone isn't the right word, but yeah, that's how it goes
Well,
from there.
it is.
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay. So there's a feeling of pain. There's pain about seeing that you're in addiction, and then you feel alone in having to uncover it, and having to work it out, and having to challenge it.
All of that. Yeah, to see the damage that it's causing.
Yeah.
To see uh to to really kind of open my eyes to it and see where all of it kind of lays out, or at least some of it at this point, at this layer, where it all kind of lays out, and to see that and the pain of it.
Yeah.
And I'm angry too that I have to that I'm waking up to this,
Yeah.
and yeah, and I
Okay.
don't have yeah, then I don't have that support. So that's yeah, right.
What would it feel like if you did have support? If, let's say, you had this whole community right here living with you in an ashram.
Let's do it. Let's go for it. Let's do it.
Okay.
It's actually it's kind of funny. I've been thinking about that quite a bit lately, but or a version of that. I guess I would feel uh safer to go deeper.
Okay.
Um yeah. I don't know. I haven't really thought of it that way, but
Yeah.
that's what kind of comes to mind at the moment.
Okay. Because the way I'm asking this question is to expose kind of like another addiction that is coming.
Okay.
It's kind of like the condition. It's like, well, I'll do this if I have this conditions, but I don't have this
Right.
condition. And that in itself is probably exposing something. It's like, if I am to see the truth of what's going on, just for myself, I'm already feeling some fear coming up because you're saying, well, it'll be safer. And every addictions are about fear. So that means that the fear is already kind of niggling on the surface.
Right.
So the fear is probably the fear is that I will be unsafe. I would get clear on the in what way do you feel unsafe. I would try to find a word for it.
Um, I feel like I would have been, or would have been. I feel like uh I'm attacked in this. Uh, so like yeah. I don't know how to explain it.
What are you doing? Okay.
So yeah, I feel like I would be um attacked and shunned if I continue on this process.
There you go.
Yeah.
So the very fear that created the addiction were that I will be alone, I will be cast out, I will
Right.
be abandoned. Like those are the fears that are what the addictions are about.
Okay.
So the fear is already getting exposed.
Okay. Yeah. Okay. So that's what I touched on this morning as far as feeling like I would lose everything
Yep.
by continuing this. Okay.
Which is great.
I,
That's
yeah,
the
I didn't know where to place that. So yeah. Okay. Yeah.
so the fear is already coming up. As soon as you kind of go, I think this is a fear, I'm feeling a fear, then you already know that, or you can guess that, oh, so that was because every addiction is about fear. If you don't want to feel the fear, you're going to have to stay in the addiction. That is the fear. So the fear is already presenting itself to you. This
Okay.
is the fear that's driven my addiction since my childhood.
Okay.
And that is the main thing that families do to us as children. You'll be cast out, you'll be abandoned, you will no longer belong, and therefore you're not going to survive.
Right.
And that creates the addiction to begin with,
Right.
to suppress the fear, which, so yeah, so you're already in the next layer.
Okay.
You just need to feel
Hey.
emotion. Yeah. And with the fear, we project it out into the world. We go into their, this is what's going on here now, but the fear is always about the past.
Right.
And once you detect it, you're going, oh, this is a fear under the addiction. I'm on my way.
Okay.
But if you're blocked to feeling fear, then you're gonna.
Yeah. Yeah. I always, I guess when the fear starts to come up, it's like, well, and it's always this, I know it's always the same, but it's always, the question always comes up of, okay, this feels different. How am I supposed to process this fear? Right. And it's like, you kind of, yeah. So, but I know it's always the same.
Every fear I come across inside of myself feels like the one of a kind, as if I've forgotten all the work I've already done. Because to that child whose hurt self that's emerging, she doesn't know that. She doesn't know what the adult has already done. So to her, it's a brand new thing that's coming out. So it's a fresh new person waking up right now. And so you just have to not judge it. Like right now, I'm working through a whole new layer of judging my fear. There's a whole new layer of feeling embarrassed by my fear and feeling like I need to justify why I have so much fear and this and that. And it took me a while to realize that I'm judging my fear. And it's like, I've been doing this for 4 or 5 years. What's this new thing happening? So yeah. So you just have to go through it again. I feel embarrassed that I have fear. That's basically my emotion. All right, well done. Okay, Virginia.
I have a little bit of confusion about support,
Okay.
like support here in the physical world.
Yeah.
Because there's this part of me saying, oh, well, if you go talk about it, or if you're like seeking the support, that it's part of my avoidance.
Yeah.
Like, when is the support a positive thing, and when am I going into other addictions? I'm confused about that part. And also about because it's so difficult. Like I was experiencing one this morning, that the addiction feels like the loving, comforting thing to do for myself,
Yeah.
that it's so hard to not go into it, because I've always seen it as the loving thing for me.
Yes.
And when I want to give that up, it feels harsh, right? Like to not,
Yep.
but I realize that I'm just avoiding fear. And then I back off and sit, like trying to engage in getting support or talking about it, that's not the right thing either. Do you know what I mean? Like I'm getting kind of confused.
No. Yeah. Yeah.
Like wanting support, is that like another addiction for me?
Yeah.
And so, and seeing where I'm at, and then I just kind of get stopped.
Okay.
You know what I
So,
mean? Like,
absolutely, absolutely. This is really helpful to engage the process of discovering, is this another addiction? How do I know if it's an addiction? You're going to have to actually engage it or not engage it. And then, like you already answered your own question, it feels terrible that I don't get to do that nice thing for myself. Like, oh, I really want to. And what do you mean I can't do it? And it just feels so terrible. Right there, you're going, well, that's an addiction. That answered that. You know that. But then it really helped for me to be able to talk it out. And who can I talk it out? And is that another addiction? It's really good to engage that, like trying it out, checking it out, because you're becoming sensitive to that feeling of the addiction, and it takes time to resensitize the feeling. So you're gonna have to experiment. Um, Jesus says a lot about talking to God. Like he said, talk to God about this, talk to God about that. And at first it felt like as if, like a prayer. It's like, well, I can just go make a prayer. I can just ask for hope or faith or courage. But at some point I go, does he mean literally? Why don't I check it out? Why don't I check out what does he actually mean? I'm actually going to talk to God as if you're talking to a person. And now I realize that talking to God is actually like a work process. That's me working. That's me going, okay, I have this issue and I'm literally going to talk to God about here's where I'm at, here's what I'm feeling, and somehow in that process, something starts to happen. Emotions will start to flow, insights will start to come in. So literally talk to God like a person. And it something happens. And it's kind of cool. So
okay.
try that out. And if you can't feel God's feelings, you'll start to feel your guide's feelings or their thoughts or their visions. Like the guides will step in to answer if you're not open to, or if you can't detect that that is God's response to you. So that I find very helpful because God has no addiction. God will only give you truth. And in order to talk to God, you have to be emotionally honest. So that right there is already quite a couple of things. And that's the big part about this addiction work at this point. You have to be emotionally honest. When you're emotionally honest, that's you in your emotion, and that's you in truth. Right there are the recipes about, well, now God is involved. You're involving God because you're in your emotions and you are speaking the truth. And most times I don't know what I'm feeling and I don't know what the truth is, or I don't want to face the truth about it. So I'm stuck in both ways. So I have to kind of start guessing. I have to go, okay, God, I don't know. I feel like I need support. I feel like I need help. I'm working through this issue and I have a lot of questions. But I don't even know if I can even ask, because then is that another addiction? Like, what are you going to do? You're going to go, well, that's another addiction. And like, is there any way out for me? And can you see I'm already getting frustrated, even just starting? Like, I'm like, oh, here comes the tantrum. Because, when you talk to your parents, you always start with a tantrum. And that is your parent. Like, where else are you going to tantrum? So I can already start a tantrum. Well, I just can never do it right. And it doesn't matter what I do. Something's wrong with everything I do, and this and that. And now you're going to punish me. And all this stuff starts to come out. So, and that way I even start to realize the truth that I didn't know was inside of me in the process. How do you feel about that, Virginia?
Then it kind of goes back to what Jill was saying, that I start feeling alone because then I'm I don't engage anyone here. And then I'm only speaking to God and with my guides.
Yeah.
Yeah. So I guess that's another
Yeah.
emotion to deal with. So it just keeps it's kind of a circle. There's a lot of things involved.
But right there, you're in a hurt. You're in a hurt. You're feeling hurt. Can you feel that? There's a bit of a hurt, anger of like, well, fine, then I won't talk to anyone. I'll
Yeah.
just keep my room, just be by myself. You're like, oh, there's a hurt right there. And you start processing that hurt, you're already releasing a block.
Yeah.
And I feel alone, there's no one I can talk to, is probably the child's emotion. That is a cause of the addiction. So you're already then processing that. And then you do attract people that you can talk to who are doing their best to be in their own emotion and being truthful. And that's all, it's a gift. It's a great thing to have that. But the benefit and the rewards of engaging God is just like I can't even name. It's so profound, and we need to repair that relationship. We need to repair that relationship because a lot of our addictions are because we don't trust and we don't feel safe in the world that God has created for us. So we got to repair that relationship. And the more you get to know God, the more you start to trust and feel safe that the current earth life may not be able to provide me with whatever it is that I need, but the world God has created has provided it. That world I can trust. It's pretty profound to be able to repair that relationship. Yeah, but go into that tantrum. Tantrums are so great. They're so helpful. You want to next time you see a tantruming kid, you want to go, yes, it'll only take you 2 minutes. You'll be in a grief very soon. Keep going. Yeah. Okay. So the theme of feeling alone is coming up today. Other comments? Selena?
Okay. Well, I have a little bit of a different twist on that. I find that for me, the hard part is first becoming aware that it is an addiction.
Yes.
And then admitting to myself that it makes me feel bad.
Okay. That's
a big one, that it actually isn't making me feel good like you think it is. It actually makes me feel bad. It's actually to get to that. And once I'm there, then I have hope.
Okay, exactly.
Because then I have hope. Oh, I've had this feeling all my life and it doesn't feel good.
Yes.
And wouldn't that be nice to not have it anymore? But it's amazing how addicted we are to feeling so bad.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, like this doesn't feel good, feeling all of that animosity and control, wanting to control that person. Why did you think that felt good?
Yeah.
And when you get to the point where you realize, and you start to really feel about me, like I'm important enough to not feel that way.
That's right.
Yeah.
That's right.
And
Self-love.
And this thing that I'm trying to control in them isn't important. It's no matter how much I judge it or think it's a sin or whatever, it doesn't matter. Me not having this feeling is far more important. That just gives me hope. And then I think that hope gives me the strength to get through all the stuff I need to get through to get rid of the addiction. So there is stuff in there. Hope. There is a good feeling in there somewhere at some point. Yeah.
It is quite a transition for me when I start with a feeling, the addictive feeling. At first, it feels good. I'm like, I like that feeling. What's wrong with it? And it takes a lot of steps that I can't think of right now to get to the point where I go, oh, it no longer feels good. You do go, oh, yes, finally, this is going to be great. You do feel like it. But it's okay that it takes time for the good feeling to become bad feeling. It takes a while. There's some addictions that still feels good. And I go, I still like it. Okay.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. And we justify and we're self-righteous and all those things when it comes to
you emotionally.
Yeah.
Justify it in wanting this good feeling because it makes me feel good for a little while. And what's wrong with feeling good anyway? And I'm going to experience it emotionally. Right there is an emotional layer. You got to work, you got to get into that justification and really own it and really get into it.
Yeah.
To release it emotionally. Each layer, release it emotionally.
Yeah. And the feeling good emotion is actually a really unloving emotion.
Well, usually, fortunately for me, I don't know why it works. Usually when I go into my justification, I do not see it as unloving. I go into it. I'm just going, I do believe this. I do fully feel this way. I do feel I'm allowed. I do feel entitled. And I just get full on. But by the time it's released and you go, why did I ever wanted that? So I'm beginning to trust the process.
Yeah.
To just experience it, put it on like an actor, just experience the justification, feel the righteousness, get it out. Once it's released, it's like you're like shaking yourself, going, "Phew, what have I been? What's been going on here?" And the feeling is gone, and you're like, "Why did that ever make sense? I don't get it anymore." So you need to see it as a pocket of something, a cyst of some kind. You just gotta push out of you, and then there's nothing to negotiate once that's released. But there's some addictions where the part of the process is you educating the child. Yes, power feels good, power makes sense, but I am going to have to give it up. So there's like an intellectual decision of, I'm engaging this process so that I can give it up. I will have to give it up. But along the way, I got to feel how much I want it and why it makes sense. Does that give a kind of a reframe? Yeah.
Yeah.
Thank you. And yeah, someday when it starts to feel awful, it's a relief. You can.
Yeah. That's exactly relief and hope. Yeah. Yeah.
Don't worry. I mean, yes, we got to feel about hope. But every step of the way that you're owning the emotion, owning every emotion along the way, you are on your way. You're on your way. You're heading in. You're okay. When you still minimizing, because when the addictions are being exposed, I will minimize it. I will go, oh, well, it's not too bad. Look around and they're worse than me. And well, I'm not doing dose addiction. It's still pretty good, right? I'm just somewhere in the middle average. It's okay. Oh no, that's still, I'm still trying to sneak out of it. There's a sneaking thing that happens in the beginning phase. And so those phases you got to watch out for. But once you start to own it and own the anger, every addiction has an anger justifying it, get into it, don't judge those motivations. Now you're on your way. And it's very dark. You'll find some very dark, murderous, greed, just kind of like really, really dark, what we call dark motivations. You're going to find those emotions. You're going to find them. And you're going to have to emotionally allow yourself to express it. So the goal is, the way Jesus puts it, is to lovingly express every emotion I have inside of me without harming myself or another. I'm paraphrasing, but that's the goal. So when I get afraid of my emotion, I pray, please help me express this emotion without harming myself or another. I don't know what that looks like. But then the emotion would come on even stronger. But it's a result of a prayer, so then I kind of have to go into it. Thank you. Other comments or observation? That part where you're kind of like cringing about it. What's it like for you guys? Sandy.
Hi there. Can you hear me?
Yeah.
Hey. So I've been catching up on all the lectures I missed the past couple of days. And one of the things that really stood out to me was this like harming others, right? And you've mentioned it in previous workshops and sessions, and I just never understood what you meant by it, and then just finally clicked yesterday. I am mistreating my parents, or not mistreating. I don't know. I don't feel good towards them. And I feel like it's because of all the things I'm holding back and the trauma and this and this and that. But I try to still, see them, spend time with them, for their support, because I know that they need it. But when I'm around them, it's like I don't want to be there. I don't care. So, and I feel like in some ways I am treating them like like maybe I was treated. And I'm like, well, I don't want to do that anymore. I don't want to cause harm to anybody. So just to your point, in that particular situation, how can I be authentic to how I'm feeling? Because if it was up to me, like I don't want to see you or have anything to do with you for I don't know how long. So what do I do in this situation to be authentic to me and my healing, but also to be supportive to them and not hurt them?
Anybody else want to jump in with what it's like for them? Grace?
For me, I can't have it both ways. You can't be authentic. I couldn't be authentic to myself and support them, because anything coming out of me from that inauthentic place was just more harm. And I was just trying to keep up with facades that they had set up, facades that I had set up about being a good parent and being a good daughter and what that means and what that looks like. And ultimately, it just made me angrier and angrier and angrier. So then more anger is coming out of me at them anytime I saw them. Like I got to a point where like mom on my call display would like send me through the roof. So at some point, I just had to cut it. I was like, you know what? This is not loving to either of us. I'm gonna go away and like figure out what I can about it. And that's really hard. Like when if you're close to your family, like, or you have that idea of closeness with with your family, because I wasn't actually ever really close with my family. It's not true, but it was really hard to break that cord, to like to cut that tie, because it means, you know, I'm alone, I have no family, I'm ostracized, all those kinds of things. So but yeah, just for me, like I couldn't do both, and I still don't really have a relationship with them, and maybe I won't ever, I don't know. But I feel like I've done enough work that maybe I'm not as angry anymore towards them. So getting there, but I don't know what the final product's gonna look like yet. But yeah, but that was a really hard one to say goodbye to your family.
How's that landing for you, Sandy?
I get it. I mean, and I would love to do that, and I have no problem being away from my family and not talking to them. But it's like, I know for my mom, if I was just like, hey, I live in the same city and I live 20 minutes away, but I just don't want to have anything to do with you for the next 6 months, like that would destroy her. Granted, I'm sure it's going to help her get through some addiction, hopefully. But like, I know that's like, I feel like that is also doing harm. Do you see what I'm saying? I'm like,
It's not doing harm. It is not doing harm, but it's going to feel like it's doing harm.
yeah.
You will have to feel your emotions about, oh, my mom is feeling that I'm harming her, and that makes me feel terrible. Now she's projecting rage at me because she had given me a job right from the get-go. And how dare I treat her that way after all the sacrifices she's made, and this and that and this and that. So I'm going to feel that I'm a terrible daughter. So because I don't want to feel that feeling, now I'm going to go make her feel loved. But then I'm avoiding my own emotion. So then you're going, well, that's still about me. I'm avoiding my emotions. At some point, sooner or later, your parents have to be confronted with their addictions, whether they're alive or after. They have to be confronted with the damage they've done. And it's good for them. It is really good for them to feel this pain. But they're going to go into blame first, because what do you do when you're not getting your addiction met? You're going to go into blame. I'm owed this. I gave birth to you. I took care of you. I've done all these things for you. I'm owed this. Every time a parent say that, you know what that means. So it's take your time working it out. Take your time. It's not like, well, now that I know what I should be doing, I should get, no. Take your time sorting it out, feeling about it, and you're already feeling that I'm actually really angry with my parents. I can't tell them that, so I have to hold that emotion in. If your parents were in a place where you can say, you know, I'm here to visit you, but I'm really, really mad at you right now. And if they were okay with that, going, okay, that's okay. We love this emotional honesty. We're so happy you're here. Do you want to tell us about why you're angry? If that was the context, then that's great. That's great. It takes a lot for a parent to say, I have damaged my child. There's rage coming from them, and I gotta accept it. I gotta accept the damage I've done. I gotta allow that process. It takes a lot. And parents can say, I don't want to hear it. I don't want to, now you're not just expressing your rage, you're actually attacking me, or I don't want to hear it. I don't want to face that stuff right now. Parents can say that to your children, you need to go. I don't want to hear this right now. That's okay too. But do you see the fear you have right there? My mom is going to, what did you use the word? It'll kill her,
It will like destroy her.
he will destroy her. So right there are your fears being exposed. This will destroy my mom, and it's my job to prevent it. And you're like, how old was I when I got that job? 2 years old, 1 year old, like a little kid who has been trying to not destroy her mother her whole life. What's that done to me?
Yeah, she's been through so much, and that's one of the things, like, growing up, is that, like, I saw it all and I couldn't do anything about it. So I just, it's hard for me.
Yeah. It was never for you to do. It was for her to feel. It was for her to feel and release. And I'm speaking as a mother who has also gone through a lot. I'm speaking as that parent, but I didn't know to feel, or I didn't want to feel. And that's on me. And that then ended up harming my children, is harming them right now.
To the point of blame that you just mentioned, and maybe this is probably a justification, but I've just been noticing that I do that quite a bit, where, like, I don't take responsibility for the thing that happens or for the pain, but instead,
Yeah,
just blame all you did. So where does that fall into all of this? Like, taking responsibility for the thing that happened versus saying, well, it was my parents' fault and I'm angry at them.
well, okay. So when you are owning, so there's the journey of going, how do I own the emotion versus project the emotion? So the child is going to feel anger because somebody did harm her, and it happens to be parents, could be anybody. So the child does need to feel that temporary feeling of, it's your fault, look what you did to me. And then you drop into the fear and the grief. That is part of the journey. But then some of us hold on to blame because we want somebody else to fix it for us. So then you're going, well, how do you know which is which? And I remember going into the process of going, okay, God, how do I know if I'm owning an emotion or projecting an emotion? And there was a whole process that happened. And at some point I'm going, oh, I can feel it now. I know the feeling of owning versus blaming. So it's something you have to go through, and then you feel it and you're going, oh, now I know the difference. And so it's easier to go into it. But it's a process you have to go into to feel the difference. But that somebody has harmed you. So you do have to start with, stop, you did this to me, and then you drop into the emotion, because that's the emotional truth. But right now, when you suppress your anger, you're actually feeling angry, but you have to go and be nice to them. That is harming them, even though they are calling that love. You're so good,
Right.
pushing all your emotion down just so you can spend time with us. What a good kid you are. You're not letting yourself be mad at me. We think that's love. Parents think that's love. It's not.
Yeah.
Okay, Lisa, you had a.
Just when Sandy was going into her grief about knowing how hard it is, the life her mom's led, I've found recently that I've gone through layers where I've connected with this immense grief that I've stored and absorbed by being a woman identified with my mom. But it's the pain of my mom's life that's entered me that I've needed to grieve. And it gives me this immense compassion for her. So I just wanted to point that out too, that there's a grief there of our parents' carried pain that we absorbed.
And again, you just need to process it and release it. So
Yeah.
Thank you for pointing that. Yeah, so when Sandy's feeling like my mom's had a hard life, to grieve that, that to grieve that. But then at some point she realized that's actually her parents' emotions about their lives. Yeah, that's a good point. Thank you, Lisa.
But there are emotions because we've absorbed them as kids. We were in the womb with our mom who had all this pain, and it was the first emotional imprints, negative emotional imprints we imbibed. So they actually are ours that need to be felt and grieved.
That's right.
Yeah.
And there is some feelings, especially with the same gender child, mothers have with daughters, of sharing our hurt together. It's love that we have this incestuous feeling of sharing this pain together. Now I feel merged with you, that you're sympathetic with me. We're in this together. We both feel this feeling. Don't you feel this feeling with me? It's gross. But there is a demand from so far I'm feeling mom to daughters. There is that. So yeah, thank you. Yeah, thank you. And Jill.
I just also wanted to point out that I feel the need to point that there is an end to it as well, that you do get to a point where you have released, you've almost released them. You've dealt with the pain, you've dealt with the hurt, you've dealt with the pain that they've caused in you, and you turn inward and you focus solely on your releasing of your emotions by all of that pain. And it gets to a point where all of a sudden you'll just realize that it's like, okay, I can be around them again. Okay. And the pain and the projections that they put off onto you, they just kind of, they don't bounce off, but because they all recognize, but it doesn't have that same effect. Okay. And it comes from a place of compassion for them, that's like, okay, I recognize that you have not had the life that a hard life or however you want to describe it as, but those were all your choices. And I have compassion for that. But I also now forgive you for all of the hurt that you have caused me. And once that stage is kind of right, I mean, I still have stuff to deal with my parents, but once that has been reached, it's easier to be around them, because you know that anything that doesn't matter what they do to you anymore, it doesn't matter what they say to you, it doesn't matter how they treat you, it doesn't matter, that you have the ability to say no more. Yeah. And I don't accept it. So that's on you. I don't accept it anymore. And it just gets easier to kind of be around them. Okay. And that, like, and then also the projections that you're projecting, the anger that you're projecting at them, the punishing that you want to install on them because they have caused you all this pain, that just kind of goes away. And it's like, oh, this is lovely. I can actually have an adult relationship with them. And the parent-child, at least on your side, which would be my side, you know, that adult or that child-parent relationship just kind of vanishes, and now you're just supporting somebody else.
So 2 things to that. As the parent that is experiencing forgiveness from my children, in areas in which they've forgiven me, it is so loving. It is just a gift, and you know it's a gift that a child is given me of forgiveness, like true forgiveness, whether or not they've said it physically. You can feel like they've come to peace about what I've done. And it does create that equalizer. It creates an equality in that area where I can feel like even if I try to assert myself in that topic, it's not gonna work. Like they're holding their own. But that gift of forgiveness is so beautiful to receive. It's amazing. So even if there's this temporary, they mad at me, they don't want to talk to me, and this and that happens, but when I receive that forgiveness feeling from them, it is such a soothing balm. Yeah. And the second part is, once as you forgive, you get to decide the gift you wish to give your parents. Mm-hmm. So giving them gift. So if you get to decide, do I want to give them the gift of my time, the gift of money, the gift of kindness, like you are giving a gift to your parents and you get to decide what that looks like.
Mhm.
And that's really good. But while also being very clear of when they're in their addictions again, you're like, you're causing me pain and I can't do that to myself. Like what Selena pointed out, you're like, why would I do that to myself? That's not something, but you're not going to be rude or angry about it. You're just like, I gotta go.
Yeah, absolutely. And that's exactly how kind of like as soon as they start to push or start to demand more of me, I'm like, nope, sorry, and I just back away and
Yeah.
kind of when that demand, I can feel when that demand goes down, it's like, okay, I can now come forward again and
Because
this
you want to, there's a desire in you.
yeah.
That when you go, oh yeah, I gotta back away now, that's the feedback for the parent going, oh, they just pull back. Did I miss something? Am I in an addiction? What was I projecting there over there? What just happened? Oh, is that a law of attraction event trying to make me feel like, what's it like when somebody you care about withdraws from you? And I'm like, oh, I'm feeling unneeded and rejected. There's that feeling. Thank you. So, as a parent who's working through stuff, you can see it in that way. So
I just have one more comment, if you don't mind. I also wanted to point out, as far as the feeling that if you, because I had the exact same feeling where if you process or if you step away or if you give them back some of their damage that they have caused you, how I like to kind of describe it, that feeling of, oh my God, I'm going to destroy them or I'm going to kill them. I had the exact same feeling. And that like Mila said, that job that we're supposed to take care of our parents and support and not destroy them, not kill them. Going through most of those, sure, there's more, but going through most of them, I actually witnessed or witnessing my parents in a physical decline. The more that I go through it, I sometimes I dread picking up the phone because I'm like, okay, what ailment are you going to tell me now? Because I've just given you back something, because they're in complete refusal to process any of their emotions. But I've come to a point of, okay, it's still on you. This has nothing to do with me. This is still your choices. But I do want to be in a point where it's like, okay, how can I lovingly support you?
Yeah.
And that's kind of where I'm at with it.
And stay in the question, because that will drive the exploration and the journey.
Yeah.
And there was something else there. You just said, I wanted to point it out. Oh, yes. As much as to your parents, the addiction feels like love and support. Once you wake up to addiction and you see how much it damages them, you're actually like, I actually can't meet your addiction, mom or dad. It's destroying you. For your sake, I cannot do this. You can't see it now. You'll be mad with me for the next 50, 100, 200 years. But I know that my meeting your addiction damages you. So out of love for both of us, especially for you, I can't do this to you. And when I first came across the statement, reading Jesus' lecture transcript, I'm going, that would be impossible for me to understand. But now I'm like, holy smoke, that's an addiction. I can't do that. I care about you. I can't do that to you. So Sandy, it takes a while to get to that, but you'll actually see the love you have in not meeting somebody's addiction, especially your own parents, because you can see, like Jill is saying, look at their physical condition right now, because they're getting their addictions mad and they're going darker and darker. It's not helping them.
Yeah, and I've been through a cycle where like I got to that point. There was at one point about like a year ago where like I don't, things were just like great, and I had this open heart and I wanted to connect with them and I took them out and I felt like I forgave them and literally just thought like it's all over. I'm like, I have healed. This is great. And nope, they were coming back. So yeah. But thank you. It's good to know that it will eventually.
Can you repeat that, Sandy? You froze there. You froze just now. Can you repeat what you
Is this better?
Okay.
I was saying that about a year ago, I got to a place with my parents where it was things were great, and I thought, I had this open heart towards them and wanted to spend time with them and connect and invite them into my life. And I was just like, okay, like I've healed. I really thought that it was all over. So I have felt that before. I was just surprised to see that I dropped back into it. Like.
It's okay.
Yeah.
And Jess brought up a really good point when she said that as you do this work, you will stop making demands on your parents, because we're still making demands on them while we're still in addictions and angry and you also get and they feel that release of like, this is no longer expected of me. Because here's what's interesting. With my children, what I've noticed is the thing they're demanding, even though I've healed and am now doing the pure version, they can't receive it because they are in the demand about it. You can't. So I've just relaxed now with some issues with my kids going, I am giving it, and it's a gift. I'm giving it as a gift, but it's okay that you're still saying, you're not doing this for me. You're not giving me this. It's like, well, you can't receive it. They have to forgive me in order to receive what's already been given. So when you're in your demand for something, you're like demanding, you got fist, you can't receive. So you got to drop your demands to then receive, even though it's coming from your parents now, because they've figured it out and they're healed. So that's another important point. And yeah, Jess, it's really the best gift you can give your parent is to stop making demands on them and to forgive them. That is the most loving thing you can do for them, whether or not they ever recognize it. Yeah. Wow, this is really good. Anita.
Oh, sorry. Yeah, I have a different view of that. I want to destroy my mother.
Okay.
I hate her so much.
Okay. Yeah, that's where I'm at right now. But you see, you're emotionally honest about it.
Yeah.
You're honest about it. You have to allow yourself to emotionally experience those emotions. And it's very hard to do because you think now I'm a terrible person. Now I want to do something to her.
No, I don't feel terrible because I don't feel terrible. No, I don't feel like I'm a terrible person because she deserves she deserves everything she can get.
That is what it feels like.
Yeah.
So you just have to, the way I guideline that issue, that process is I say, God, help me own it. Help me own and release this emotion. So wherever it takes me, it takes me. And when you're experiencing those, it does feel good. It's like, oh, it feels so good to feel this rage. I hope I'm owning it. I hope I'm releasing it because it feels like I'm going the other way. But something gets lighter.
Yeah.
So that's good.
Yeah, good.
Thank you. Yeah, we're going to have those spaces, all of us, towards whoever it was that was around us in our early childhood, which happens to be parents. It's not that we're trying to hate our parents. It's just that those were the people around that created the damage. Could have been anybody. So, Selena?
I just we've touched on delivering truth with love. And I find that with my kids, when I first started this process with divine truth, my one daughter particularly really projected a lot of anger at me, and like in a very unloving way, like really projected on me. And I responded with tantrums and self-abuse and things like that. But as I'm recovering from those addictions more and more and not having those responses, I'm finding she's now delivering truth to me in a more loving way.
Okay.
So it does. Okay. But I get that. Like if people are closed, like they're not going to, and she's not closed, but she's just automatically now just delivering truth with more love. And I think that's what, as a child, even if your parents aren't able to receive it in the long term. And I also, like Anita, hated my mother when in the spirit world. Very just she deserved to be in that horrible place where she was, and did not care, and I was quite happy. But when I saw how much it was harming my soul, I was able to, and it's interesting how much of a grip you can have on people in the spirit world with your negative emotions. Like like your anger, like they think, oh, well, my daughter hates me too, so I deserve to be here. That was kind of the feeling I got finally from her, was I deserve to be here. She hates my guts, and I'm just going to stay here, and I'm not going to work on anything or process anything or try to change anything. And then when I was able to change that, she was able to start moving forward and actually start feeling some of her, like she went from numb to just exploding with anger. But that was good. Yeah, but that she started to feel. So that was really good. And I was just helping her to stay in a not feeling place.
So there is a holding on to your anger, which is what we're always doing.
Yeah.
And then you recognize the feeling you are having, and you're like, whoa, I'm really angry, and I feel justified. And then you're going, okay, where do I go next? And usually I have help me own and release this emotion. Or lately I've been like, I need to, because I work through my blocks and I will never forgive her, to like, okay, just get me to forgiveness. How do I forgive her? And sometimes the feeling get even more peaked because it becomes stronger, so it can move through you faster and out. So it's about your motivation. I'm feeling this emotion. How do I own it versus projecting it? How do I forgive? Or no, I am not going to let this one go. I am not done being angry. Okay, fine. Why? Why? So then you're exploring the why. But if the goal is help me own my emotions, then you're going to be guided towards the right way. And usually for the emotion get even big, loud, and it just comes out real fast. And then it's gone.
It was very wonderful to start to feel her as a human soul, not just my mother.
Yeah, that's right. The divorce process.
Like a sister, feeling it more the sisterhood than that helped me. Oh man.
That's good. Thank you. Okay, any last comments about the process of coming to terms with your addictions? Good. So we're going to start to probably shift into the repentance process because we have and are doing damage in our addictions to others, and engaging repentance is, I find, actually a quick way to even discover more addictions or discover the harm I am doing. And it also shortened the process of working through the damage I've done and to repair quicker. So we'll talk about that. But there are a lot of blocks to engage in repentance as well. So if you want to think about that, I may send you one of the videos that I found really, really helpful for me. I'll send you the link if you want to watch it or read the transcript. And then we can start to talk about how to repent for the damage, because we keep talking about, well, I need to forgive. Well, look at what somebody did to me. We're still trying to avoid the topic of, but the damage I've done, which I probably didn't mean to, I didn't know about it, it was my addiction, whatever that is, I still need to acknowledge and feel about the damage I've done. That is a big part of the recovery process. So let's start thinking about why that feels difficult, how you're blocked about facing that. Some people go into a dark place of self-punishment, so we don't even want to look at it because we're just going to treat ourselves badly. Try to discover your blocks about why acknowledging the damage you've done feels difficult, what that's about. And then we can start to look at the repentance process. Okay.